All right, guys. Tonight we're going to talk about serving strategy, and this isn't really decisions of, we're going to jump serve, we're going to topspin serve. This is what are we trying to accomplish while we're serving, and there's a number of things as far as getting the other team out of transition, maybe causing some confusion, things along those lines. They're pretty straightforward, but if you think about them, they really give you a goal within your serving process itself. And we're going to keep track of stats on how many times we forced other teams out of transition and serve receive and things like that. So this is something we want to get really good at, is understanding how we can make things harder. And I would like for the coaches to do less and less of this calling and the players to do more and more of initiating this on the court. It just depends how you guys develop. So let's talk about some of the strategies. The first one is not really a strategy as much as it is we know it's successful, which is a deep, low, fast, flat serve. Okay? This is going to refer to what we call passing zones. We're trying to keep people out of a passing zone, and this is one serve that does it. The other one is a short, low, fast, flat serve. So that's one that drops a lot shorter. It's relatively fast, but not nearly as fast as obviously a deep serve. Then you have the really short serve, which is your standard short serve. It's a higher serve, shorter, slower. The Waldo serve, we talked about this. The Waldo serve is, listen, we're going up against a team, and this passer's just bad. She's having a bad day. She hit a few balls into the net, and she made a few bad blocking. She's really just doing poorly today. We want to put every ball in her hands. And at that point, we circumvent the whole process of trying to force her into seams, and we just go right at her because we know she's not passing a three. The setter path, which I'm going to explain in a second, is the ability to interrupt the setter. Three's a crowd is trying to really serve balls into where there's a lot of congestion. Tough seams is just, where's really the hardest pass to make. Alternation is something that we'll talk a little bit more about, but especially if you're a deep, low float server, we're going to want you to alternate that with short cross seams too, just to make sure that you're going deep, short, deep, short. It's just like if you're hitting the ball. If you've gone up and you've hit 5 balls outside really hard, they're playing deep shots on you and just go up and cut roll over the block and it'll fall pretty easy. But alternating the types of serves that you have is a major advantage because it keeps them on their toes, but it's also a major disadvantage because you don't really get into a roll, a rhythm, so to speak, of serving that type of serve. And if you can get your low, deep float serve and you're over and over and over again consistent with it, you're probably going to end up sticking with that. And then the anti-MVP one, which I'll explain in a second. So let's take a look at what this means. When we talk about the deep, low, fast, flat, and the short, low, fast, and flat, what we're trying to accomplish is not serving the ball here. Passing zone is essentially 5 feet off the backcourt, 3 feet off the backcourt to 15 feet within the court. That area is directly where the platform is ideal for passing the ball. So we want them to move vertically on the court, to either have to pass a ball that's lower in front of us or to pass a ball that's deeper behind us. But what we don't want to do, a great serve, you can serve that ball 40 miles an hour, but if you serve it right to their stomach line, all they have to do is just turn and it's done. So we don't want them to be able to just stand there. And when we talk about making the passer make 2 steps, we want them moving over, and then we want them moving forward or backwards because that's going to throw off their balance and control of their platform. But generally speaking, we want to avoid getting in that serve receive, which is why we are serving into that serve receive, which is why that's where we line up in serve receive, obviously. Setter path is one that works really well. So let's say you got a setter coming out of the back row or coming from the right side, something like that. This setter's behind the passer, so we can pass right to or serve right to this passer, so kind of get in the way a little bit. But more likely what I'd like to see is we know the setter wants to go here. We can serve the ball here and force someone to get in her way. At a bare minimum, that's going to get rid of one hitter. So this works really, really well. It's a great opportunity. Three's a crowd is essentially, it's what I call it, which is when you see a lot of people together right next to each other, you see like a setter and 2 hitters compound or 2 hitters and a setters, serve it in the middle of them. All right. The reason for that is the communication processes break down when you have that many people there. Now, they may have tested it. They may have gone through a lot and practiced it a lot, and that's fine. But that's a good opportunity, especially if you go higher in their body when there's a few people around them, or you try to seam 2 of them that are already really close together. That can cause some major confusion. The tough seams one, you have 4 natural seams on the court when it comes to serve receive. You have, the 1 seam between the 1 and the 6, between the 6 and the 5, and the 5 seam. By far and away, the 2 hardest passes to make are the seams on the lines. They're the ones where you have to drag out, turn your platform all the way, and make an angle. So if you've got a great shot, if you can serve from 5 to 1 and hit that left seam all the time, you can do very, very well. If you can do the same thing from 5 or from R1 to their 5, you're going to do very, very well. But generally speaking, seams are a great way to just make people move at least 1 or 2 steps. And this is one that's a little bit more advanced, and it's based upon knowing the personnel on the other side of the court, which really just comes down to, let's say we find a player, let's say, for example, their big hitter is on the right side, but their big hitter is a middle hitter, meaning she's slow. She's not a great player as far as making a great approach. She's like 6 foot, 6'1", and she can just go up and hit the ball, but doesn't need a real approach to do it. What we want to do in that particular scenario is make that player move. So let's say that player was passing from here. If we served her short, she would literally just be in exactly what she wants to be, which is a less movement-oriented process. She's on the net, goes up, slams it, done. But what we can do is serve her deep, force her to back up to pass this ball, which is going to make her take a 28-foot approach. It's going to take a lot off of what she does. And I know that seems weird giving someone an approach, but especially that type of player, you can really get in their head by making them move too much, and the more they move, the more mistakes they make. Now, there is a flip side of that too. Let's say we have a player that's really, really fast, really athletic player. Generally speaking, you don't try to take this player out. You try to keep the ball away from them, but you can take them out of being at their full level of aggressiveness in a play. So if they're a fast player, if I serve them deep, that's perfect for her. She's going to take a 28-foot approach, and she's going to be great at it. Instead, if we serve her short, more likely than not, she's going to end up passing that ball and standing there. And that's going to make her less of attractive an option. It's also going to give us a better blocking setup because she's not going to transition off after passing the ball from a short position to get a full approach. She might get 1 or 2 steps, but that's about it. So these are some of the ways you can be successful in really, using some strategy in your serving. So when you're looking at other teams, when we're breaking down scouting reports and things like that, identifying players that are bad passers or a rotation where they really struggle because they're trying to move their setter too far. Like we have a rotation that looks like this. Anyone that knows to serve the ball here, and we have a slow passer on this side, we might be into some issues there. I might have to think of something different to change if we have to for that particular rotation. So it gives you some ideas. If you have any questions, let me know. That's all. Thanks.